Okay, welcome back to another video. Unfortunately, my JNCIESP, this is for network automation for my new job, starts on the 26th. The 25th is Memorial Day. But it kind of want to gripe. I mean, I could save it for the JNCIESP video, but I'm kind of having trouble doing that just because of how upset I am by the fact that I ran out of disk space on my computer and wasn't able to save the last one, so I lost like a 2.5-hour video where we did a lot of pretty interesting, good stuff. So, but that's kind of the way it goes sometimes, especially if you're like me and you don't like investing a bunch of extra money into something unless you're making money back. All right. So, yep, so let's continue on with the book here. I think it did get 3 strikes, but I'm not going to say it's out. It looks like there's a lot of really good content to come. So, yeah, I got the first strike for having a misleading title. I think it's really geared more for beginners than mastering it. They got the second strike for being superficial. I think a lot of the stuff it shows here, you can just find better explanations for online. So even as a beginner resource material, you're better off Google searching online or just using built-in help. And this does not kind of tell you, this book does not help you to help yourself, which I think is perhaps the most important aspect of any beginner material is to teach the beginner to help themselves. And this book does none of that. And then the third strike, I actually forget. Oh yeah. The third strike is there's no table of contents, which I didn't even know a book could be published officially without one. I thought it was like a requirement from the publisher for like a technical book or something. But it just means I can't go back very easily and look over the things I've done or even explain the things that are a part of this book in a quick and easy manner without a table of contents. So it has 3 strikes. It should be out, but I don't know. I'm going to keep going. I mean, now that I'm actually in the examples and actually like typing things out and working on stuff. And it did have some interesting things to say. The author legitimately does have some level of professional experience in the field. So just the way my experience of the tech field has been, it's really hard to get experience in tech, and the experience you get is very narrow. You know, if I got 10 fingers and I'm lucky enough to get hired into one of these fingers, well, I'm going to be working in the pinky and I'm not going to be working in the thumb or any of the other fingers. So my next job, they don't have any pinky positions available. You know, I'm going to have just as hard of a time getting hired to a thumb position or a pointer position because they want, you know, 100 years in the pointer position for a technology that was made 6 months ago. And, you know, people might be able to easily get that job by saying, well, you know, your hiring process is messed up. If you want somebody with 100 years in the pointer position, that's going to be impossible. But hey, I have, you know, a year in the thumb position. So like, you know, you can hire me because that's close enough to the pointer position. Well, there's cases where it's like, well, you know, I have 5 years experience in the pinky position, but really it's kind of hard for me to make a case that the pinky position is going to be similar to the pointer position. So it's like, how do I really market myself for a pointer position? I think a good way to do that is to read books and do autodidactical studies and say, hey, I don't have experience in the pointer position. I know it's going to be a lot different than the experience I do have in the pinky position, but there's a lot of things that are the same between the pinky and the pointer position that are not related to IT technical skills, such as just, basic job competency skills, showing up, having a good attitude, being tolerable to work with. I mean, you're going to be working with your coworkers, spending more time with them than you spend with your husband or your children or your wife. So it's like, obviously one of the most important work skills you can have is just to be somebody tolerable to sit next to in a room for extended periods of time. If you don't have that skill, I think it's more difficult to get ahead in a career than if you're lacking things like laurels, credentials, those sort of things. The most important thing you can do, and of course I need improvement on this with my scraggly hair and all that, but I think generally the worst thing you can do is be like interject inappropriately, kind of be too loud, be in people's face. If you get angry too, and you can get heated, you can get impassioned, but it's got to be about the ideas. It's got to be focused on task. I don't think anyone will fault you for getting passionate, even a little bit upset over ideas. But if you don't know how to do that and you get passionate and upset over people and you go after people, you attack people, that is really inappropriate, because you're going to be spending more time with people at work than you would be spending with people at home. So for the same reasons you wouldn't want to be a certain way to people at home, you wouldn't want to be a certain way at work. And my own personal opinion, it's to me a little bit upsetting that that's just the way our country works, the United States, where you do have to spend more time with people at work than you spend at home. But even if it were the case that our jobs weren't structured that way and you didn't have to spend 40 hours a week with a stranger, especially when you're first starting the job, but even, years on, you really only know the aspect of them from their work life. So they're really kind of still a stranger, in my opinion. My personal opinion is that I think that's a little bit sad, but even if it weren't, or even if there were a better way where we could have kind of more efficient, productive, professional experiences with our coworkers, and not kind of experiences where you're trapped or you're forced to be a certain way, or you don't have the option to behave in a way that you think is more productive and more professional, as is more common in a workplace scenario, especially in the United States. Even in the ideal world, the unicron environment, the way I exactly like it to be, being a great guy people love, who you can spend time with and not constantly, cringe, is an important skill in that case as well. In any case, that's a really important skill. So the reason I'm talking about this right now, if you didn't hear the beginning, is because it's just talking about how getting experience, getting jobs in IT can be difficult. And there's a lot of cases where you just can't say that you've had years of experience in something, even if you've had 20 years of experience in IT, because one, that thing was just created. It hasn't been around for 20 years, but the hiring process is broken, so they don't know that. Two, it's just so different from what you're doing now that the only people who have experience with it are the people who work at the company where it was developed, or people who kind of went down a really kind of narrow path, kind of off the beaten pathway. So there's kind of a monopoly on those skills. So the way to overcome that is to, one, market yourself as somebody who's just generally, a great guy, great to work with, has a lot of general skills that are very valuable, maybe not specific to the skill they're hiring for, but a generally, great person, somebody that is going to be a good fit culturally, even not necessarily technically. And then two, you can say, hey, well, look at this. I started a YouTube channel, and we learned about, this concept. I spent 3 months, I made a whole video series. Here's what I know. Yes, I don't have 3 years of experience in it, but this technology was developed a year ago, so that's impossible. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. I wouldn't say that, but you can, I think, present things, bring up things in an interview, in a hiring process, besides experience, that I think ultimately can lead to you being hired, especially in a case where the company will eventually realize that what they're asking is not reflecting reality. And that's just my personal opinion as somebody with 5 years of experience in IT. So I'm sure I'll learn more and kind of have a better opinion as time goes on and I have new jobs. And I've only worked at one company for the 5 years. It was kind of different sections because they restructured, and the stability of that company was very questionable. Just a lot of moving pieces, a lot of, you could go to work next day, boss tells you that your company's being laid off, you got to sign a new contract to go live in Cleveland, and if you don't sign it, you get laid off. That's the unfortunate truth of the modern workforce, especially in something like IT. It's really about what they need, and it's really not about what you need in a lot of cases, even if what you need allows them to accomplish what they need. To the point of, if you need a software license, if you need access to a certain piece of equipment, that's a debate. It's not a requirement for you doing your job. As I mentioned, I think it is in this video series, you can get into a situation where you work for a ditch digging company and for some reason they just don't like shovels. Shovels are bad. And to be fair, there could be a situation where somebody used a shovel for something bad. They bashed their coworker over the head with a shovel. Can't have shovels anymore. But, it's just kind of a sad state of affairs where that sort of thing would happen, especially if a conclusion were drawn from that, not that coworker was very disturbed and there was a problem with that coworker, but the conclusion drawn where there's a problem with shovels, that's a really bad sign. But you can think of where these sorts of kind of opinions and rules and would stem from, especially if you use kind of more flexible logic. All right. So all the fields in the script should be pretty self-explanatory, with the exception of device params. Starting with NC client 0.4.1, the device handler was added to specify different vendors or platforms. For example, the name can be Juniper, CSR, Nexus, or Huawei. We added the host key verify equals false because we are using a self-signed certificate from the Juniper devices. And this bothers me too, the fact that the book is not talking more about certificates, because this is a huge issue if you don't know how to handle certificate issues in IT. You're gonna, it's just, you know, you'll be just like everyone else. Let me put it this way. If you do know how to handle certificate issues in IT, you're gonna look really, really good. But this book won't help you with that. The returned output is RPC-reply encoded in XML with an output element. So let's run this script. Cannot import name manager, MANAGER. Import error. Cannot import name manager. Why not? So I could be missing a number of things in this. This is a different router. So I guess I will try to do a pip install on NC client. Okay, yeah, this is what I wanna run again. I thought I did this before. I might not have done the setup. So I think I'm gonna try that. I might not have done the git clone. So it looks like I did NC client here, but I'll do the setup again. Okay, some packages may not be found. No local packages or links found. So I wonder if I don't have public internet. I don't. Okay, so I got to switch over the link. As we saw in the last video, I've kind of got to do some special configs to, and it looks like right now, because I've got this problem where I toggle one off, the other one on, the other one automatically goes off. I've never seen that before. It's not happening on the other host, but I don't think it's a huge deal to just toggle that. So it looks like we're having bigger issues than I had thought, and issues that we didn't have earlier. So I would like to just abandon that server and use this one. Unfortunately, I don't have enough ports. Oh, I do have enough ports now. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna abandon that server. All right, and then this is, I kind of like that other VNC client a little better. I just like how you can shrink it down and then it will resize it like that. That's really nice. Okay, so hopefully I've got better results. I'm going to need to configure an IP. Let's see if I've already got one on the Juniper. Yep, so I've got an IP on the Juniper, so I just need one on my interface here. And okay, so it's still showing my which one is this? This is ENS6, I believe. I would like to confirm though. ENS3. So it's this one. I don't think the port naming is right. So ENS3 here, I think is ENS0 here. So yeah. So it's going to be ENS6. And hopefully this doesn't have a, no, it does have one. So yeah, I don't see which one this is. So let's see here again. So this has got 3. Okay, so we've got so ENS6 went unplugged. Let's plug it back in and see if ENS6 comes back in. Yep, so it's definitely going to be ENS6. So we're going to need to remove this connection profile. Perfect. And now we can reconfigure it. It looks like multiple interfaces are allowed to be on. All right, so it's going to be manual 10.10.10.2, 255.255.255.0. Don't need a default gateway. We'll just be doing point-to-point connection just to learn more about netconf, not necessarily more about networking. All right, so we're good to go. I think I'm going to tank this other server now. It's just kind of cluttering. Well, I'll leave it in case there's some special thing they need. There's no harm in leaving it, and there could be harm in taking it down. Okay. All right, so now we can jump to our latest bookmark, not hit the delete on it. Okay, and now I think this example is going to work because I'll be able to import the manager on this one. I'm not sure why I wasn't able to on the other one, but as we saw, it had kind of some unexplained issues with that wired setup configuration for networking on it. So I guess it would not be surprising that there would be other issues as well. Oops, I got an R. Now I'm going to type this out. First, I'm going to make sure I can install manager. Oops. There you go. Took a while to think, but it looks all good to go on this one. So by Junos netconf 1.py. Okay, so we're going to have to use a different host. It's going to be .1. We might need to enable netconf as well on the Juniper. We can figure out how to do that. Oh, we're also going to need to use different credentials. So yeah, I don't have netconf enabled on my lab device. So let's figure out how we can set that up. So let's do edit system login, set user. We'll just use what they're using. So they're going to use netconf and then Juniper exclamation point. Authentication, plain text password. So all lowercase. Perfect. We need to give it a class as well. That's required. We'll make it a super user. All right, so now we need to enable the netconf service. Oops. So here's where I'm not sure what to do to enable it over SSH. I think it looks like it's the only option. So I think we'll be good to go with this example. Yeah, as I've said before, this book does have 3 strikes, so I kind of thought I would be just moving on from it if I have 3 strikes. I probably am better off to do so, but it just at this point, like, I think these exercises are kind of useful, and then it doesn't have a table of contents, yes, for the book, but it does have a Git repo that I can draw from and look at these examples again. So I think I will be able to get value out of it. And if nothing else, it looks like it does have a very large variety of content. So I'll just kind of get a first foray into a lot of different things, which I think will have value. Oops, so device params, that's going to be an underscore and not a dash. Yeah, I want to get better at using Vi. I know there was this lecture I watched where inner word was one of the best features, but I don't know if that was for Vi or Vim. It appears in Vi. I do not have inner word. I'm just gonna, because I'm curious enough, I'm gonna go into Vim, and then I'll do set number, and I'll jump down to line 9, and then I'll see if I can do IW here, WI. Yeah, so I'm not sure how to use that. I would like to do some more Vi tutorials. Maybe I can do that as part of this video series. That would definitely, I think, help me be better from day one. All right, and we got a perfect response back. Everything's good to go. All fields should be pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, we read that already. The returned output is a RPC reply. So I think we're going to see that. Nope, we just get the clean response without the XML. Encoded in XML with an output element. We can parse the XML output to just include the output text, which is what we did. That's why we don't see the XML information. In Juno's netconf2.py, we will make configuration changes to the device. We will start with some new imports for constructing new XML elements. So let's do that. Yeah, it'd be great if Vi had like a built-in help, or like if it had like an AI in it that could detect your habits, and every time you make a bad habit, have a message say, hey, you could have done this, and kind of congratulate you if you do that. You say like, you did it the best way you could, congratulations. So anyone really comfortable in AI who is hearing this, so no one, I think that'd be a great project. I would love to do that myself. That actually, to be honest, I don't know much about AI. I know that you can use a lot of pre-existing libraries so that if you are a beginner, you can do pretty interesting things like recognize handwriting and convert it into actual computer characters. So I don't think something like that would be impossible for somebody who does not consider themselves the nation's greatest mind. Okay, so here we're learning about things that are pretty valuable to know about, I think. We will lock the configuration and make changes. So lock and make configuration changes. So I'm not sure what this changes is. That doesn't look like valid Python syntax. I don't think you can just say changes space conlock. I think they're missing a equal sign. So I'm just going to add one. under the build configuration section, we create a new element of system with sub-elements, host name and domain name. If you are wondering about the hierarchy structure, you can see from the XML display that the node structure with system is the parent of host name and domain name. After the configuration is built, the script will push the configuration and commit the configuration changes. These are the normal best practice steps: lock, configure, unlock, commit. So yep, I learned about that on the job. It is I think a plus to this book that they bring this up. I'm happy that they bring this up at least. But I am upset that this config is because I don't know why they think you can just say changes without any sort of extra thing. I mean, you can't do that. So I mean, maybe you can, but you know, this is another reason why this book has 3 strikes and it should be out, but unfortunately I kind of am having trouble throwing it out. And I realize it's the sunk cost fallacy, but that's the one that I think gets me every time. Can you just do that? I guarantee you can't, but I'll try it and then I'll go back. I mean, as I've said before, it is really valuable, I think, to see Python error messages and get used to what happens when things go wrong, because it will hand it to you on a silver platter and make things very clear what is going wrong. But you just gotta get used to reading it. You have to speak their language, but their language is very, very good. So overall, the netcom steps map pretty well to what we would have done in the CLI steps. Please take a look at the script for a more reusable code. The following example combines the step-by-step example with a few Python functions. So let's see if this works. I guarantee you we're going to get an error for that. Oh, I can't even. Oh, okay. Yeah, so invalid syntax. You can't have just a variable listed without like an equal sign, or you know, you can assign a variable with the equal sign. You can just call a variable if you just include the only if you just have it there. You can. So I don't know why they think that is necessary. Or I don't know why they think that is possible. But you know, it's my own fault for continuing to use a book that has 3 strikes against it. But let's see if their actual book here. Okay, so that looks quite a bit different from what we had. Okay, here we go. This is what, oh, I see. So I think, oh, okay. So I know what happened. The next line, so the comment that they included, so when they just have, yeah, see this changes space here? So it ran off here and went into the next line. So this is part of the comment still. That's what's going on. Okay, I will clean that up then. But as I mentioned, it's always a good idea to get comfortable with those error messages because they're not going to go away. You're going to be seeing them, and the faster you can use them to your advantage, the better off you are. So, yep. Oh, one more. Okay, so now we'll be good to go. So could not open the socket. Aha. So the socket information I gave it includes an IP that I'm not going to be using. Oops. So now we've got config is not defined. So let's take a look at what happened there. So yep, it looks like we never defined config. So I don't know if that's an error in the book. Oh yeah, so build configuration config equals new LE. So build configuration. Okay, yep. So here it's okay. So yeah, I accidentally moved this to the next line, thinking it was that error. Okay, so this should work here. Oops. Commit config is not defined. So print commit config. Which is going to be con.commit under send, validate, and commit. Wait, what did they say was not defined? They said commit config was not defined. So that's going to be before the print statement. Yep, so this is actually a pretty good exercise, as I've said multiple times, because we're getting used to reading these errors. It's a name error, it's not defined, and it's on line 22 in this file. But we've got a we've got this OK reply here. So this means that the host name is now going to be changed. So it's now changed to master. All right, let's keep moving on. So this is where we're at now. So I'll push up the bookmark. Okay, So now we're going to learn about how to make the code a bit more reusable. So the following example combines the step-by-step example with a few Python functions. Let's type that out. Oops, so we can already see there's a problem here. They're not saying to import anything. So I don't know if they're meaning to have this be in that same file, but we're definitely going to need to import all of our packages. So it looks like that's all that's missing though. So let's do that. And then of course, if we get error messages, that's not the worst thing in the world because we'll learn how to troubleshoot better. Okay, so yeah, this looks good. Oops. What happened here? Oh, okay, I went back too far. So it's actually going to be, yeah, I thought there was more than one line. From ntclient.xml underscore import new ELE sub ELE. Perfect. So this file can be executed by itself, or it can be imported to be used by other Python scripts. Juniper also provides a Python library to be used with their devices called PyEZ. We will take a look at a few examples of using the library in the following section. So if I run this file, it might look like nothing is happening, but there is something happening. What is happening is that all of these functions are being defined. So if I want to actually use the functions, I would have to call them. So it can be useful to have a file like this, because if you just open up a shell like this, you can do import on that file, which is named Junos netconf3. And you don't need the py when you do this. And now if I do the dir command, we've got Junos network 3 in our namespace, but in the namespace here, now we've got all our commands, config commands, connect manager. So now connecting to a device. And here's the importance of doc strings. You'll notice we didn't have any doc strings. So I don't know what to include here. Yep, because there's no, oh, here we go. So yeah, there is, okay, some decent help on there. So I gotta give it the host, port, username, and password. But that's all I gotta do is just do connect with the host, port, username, and password, and I can do it all in one line, and it's all nice, and all the kind of difficult stuff, the more advanced syntax is hidden behind the scenes. So that makes it nice. It's nice to reuse yourself. It's nice to hand out for beginners. My personal opinion about stuff like that is when you're learning, you don't want to do anything like that. You want to type everything out. You want to do it all verbose, because you'll just start to forget stuff. But definitely when you're on the job, and then even if you're learning, you're comfortable with the concept and enough to use shortcuts, yeah, do something like that. But having that be kind of the first place you go with the code is just making it as correct as possible according to design principles that don't apply to what you're doing is obviously not something I would endorse. All right, but let's continue on. Juniper PyEZ for developers. PyEZ is a high-level Python library implementation that integrates better with your existing Python code by utilizing the Python API that wraps around the underlying configuration. You can perform common operations and configuration tasks without extensive knowledge of the Junos CLI. Juniper maintains a comprehensive Junos PyEZ developer guide on their technical library. If you are interested in using PyEZ, I would highly recommend at least glance through the various topics in that guide. So yeah, I don't know why. I guess if I would go back and use more, yeah, PyEZ sounds pretty awesome. I wonder if it's even a good idea for me to try to use PyEZ on the JNCI ESP. I don't even know if I'll have Python though. All right, installation and preparation. The installation instructions for each of the operating systems can be found on the Installing Junos PyEZ page. We will show the installation instructions for Ubuntu 18.04. The following are some dependency packages, many of which should already be on the host from running previous examples, but let's just install them all. So sudo apt get, and I'll do another update because I don't know if there's been more updates since the last time I ran that. And I don't think updates take super long. Well, it depends on what there is to gather in the update, but I don't think there's that much in this update. All right, sudo apt get install. I'm not sure what the -y is, but we can figure out using the help. So -y is, it doesn't tell you what -y is. Let's look at info. Oops, not understood. -h is just for, so, yep, fortunately, just gonna have to use -y without knowing what it does. I think it -y does, if it ever asks you a yes or no, it'll pick yes automatically. So let's see if we get any yes or no prompts because we're including that -y. So it didn't get any yes or no prompts. It looks like here's the same old classic typo I've been making in my other attempts to do this. And yep, I'm already up to date. So PyEZ packages can be installed via pip. Let's do that. Install Junos E, C, and Z. And you can notice I've got my virtual environment. So this will be going in that environment, not my global environment. Perfect. So on the Juniper device, netconf needs to be configured as the underlying XML API for Python EZ. Right now we've got it set up just for SSH. We don't have port 30 explicitly configured. I'm not sure if it's using it or not, but we can definitely add that section of the code. So set system services netconf. SSH port 830. Oh, so there's no changes. So yep, it looks like it automatically chooses 830 by default if you don't specify it. So we already have that enabled. For user authentication, we can either use password authentication or an SSH key pair. Creating the local user is straightforward. So yep, I did that. I didn't include the UID, but it was automatically created. And I did use super user permissions as they did. And I used a plaintext password, but it's converted to encrypted. For the SSH key authentication, first generate the key pair on your management host if you have not done so. For chapter 2, low-level network device interactions, we did so. By default, the public key will be called id_rsa.pub under the SSH directory, the hidden SSH directory in the home directory. While the private key will be named id_rsa under the name directory. Treat the private key like a password that you never share. The public key can be freely distributed. In our use case, we will copy the public key to the /tmp directory and enable the Python 3 HTTP server module to create a reachable URL. Okay, so let's do that. And then for Python 2, we would use a different command, -m simple HTTP server. But we're using Python 3, so let's copy this. Okay, so we're serving HTTP from the Juniper device. We can create the user and associate the public key by downloading the public key from the Juniper 3 web server. Okay, this book has 0 strikes now. This is really cool. I wanted to figure out how to do this exact thing on my own. So the fact that the book is just walking me through this casually is really cool. So, wow, this is really, really cool. Okay. So set system login. Yep, we'll create a new user, and this user will use public key authentication instead of a password. Let's move our bookmark forward. We've made more progress in this book. And then make it a bit more readable here. Put it side by side with the terminal. So, yep, now moving on to the next page, which we can't do, unfortunately. But I think what we can do is reset the formatting. So if we go to font here, we can set it to 1 column only. And now shrink it down like this. Let's try this again. So, aha, here we go. So now we've got everything that's a little bit too thin. Let's see if we can go a little bit thicker and still get the bar. We can't. So, okay, this will be good enough. So it's going to be set system login user ECHOU class super user authentication load key file http : and then it's going to be 10.10.10.2 :8000 /ID RSA.pub, and then we want it to go into .pub, and then I think the / goes in the same line like this. Var home. No. There is a space there. Var home .conf, because we're saying where on our own device do we want it to go to. Nope, there isn't a space. Never mind, sorry. Oops, there's an error retrieving the file. Is it .1? No, it's .2, isn't it? Yeah, it's .2. What happened? Oh, it's going to be 0.0.0.0. But I don't have an IP to reach that. Right, I don't have a route to reach that. Yeah, I've got to find a way to restart this. Yeah, I've got to find a way to set up the source IP for my HTTP server. Here's some examples. So I can pass it a So it looks like I might need to open an interpreter shell. Yeah, I'll just try that. And then server address. Yeah, I'll just run this function here. That should be easy enough. So import HTTP server. Okay, so I think what I can do is from socket server .tcp server import HTTP server. No. Import socket server socket server.tcp server. Okay, here we go. So yeah, I can do HTTP server equals this, and now I can do can doctor this up in a Notepad++. Perfect. Oops. Oh, right, and I can't share my clipboards. I can't figure out how to do that. I could just Google it. Maybe I'll figure it out that way. But I wish they would just tell me how to do it from here. Maybe if I do like 10.10.10.1, that work. Unexpected token. Just space. Okay, here we go. So usage dash bind. Perfect. Oh, this side is dot dash 2. So now we're getting somewhere. So let's rerun this command and use the correct IP. Oh, look at that. Oh, it errored. And that's because the server, that's because it's looking in the wrong place, I think. There we go. Now I've got the file. But I don't know if it's in the right directory. But that's cool either way. Just the fact that you can send it like that, I really like that. Now if we try to SSH with the private key from the management station, the user will be automatically authenticated. And you can, if you were here for my other videos, you can see I just bashed my head against the wall for 4 hours trying to figure this out on my own. So really good props to this book for walking me through this. Oops. So yeah, there's a problem here. Maybe I need to specify the username. what was it? ECHOU? Nope, I still need to enter a password. So I think the file isn't. Oh, I didn't commit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, now you can see the file is loaded up really nice. I love it. This is okay. This oh, edit system login user ECH. Oops. Edit what? Edit user ECHOU. Delete class set class super user. Oh, I did the same thing again. Super user. Perfect. So that was really slick. I'm really happy to this book for doing that. I'm going to be doing that on like all of my jump servers now. Okay. So, yep, commit. So now it'll work now that I've actually committed that change. Look at that. So wonderful. Something that took me 4 hours just bashing my head against the wall. I had to do like a celebratory meditation afterwards. It was just walked through in 5 minutes in this book. So this book has redeemed itself. Let's make sure that both of the authentication methods work with PyEZ. Let's try the username and password combination. Okay, let's do that. So Python 3 from jnpr.junos import device dev equals device host equals Juniper device IP. It's going to be 10.10.10.1. User equals netconf. Password equals Juniper exclamation point. Dev.open. Perfect. Dev.fax. So you can see this, the commands we're entering are quite a bit different. That's because we're using the PyEZ module. That's why we have these things like dev.fax, dev.open. They come from that PyEZ module. Oh, looks like, aha, so perfect. Look at how nice this was. And it's in a JSON output. So let's just do the dev.close on it. We can also try to use the SSH key authentication. So let's start with a blank slate from jnpr.junos import device dev1 equals device. Okay, so now just by merit of using this username that has the key set up on the remote side, all we need to give it, oh, we do need to give it a path to the SSH private key file that we want it to use. But I have a feeling we don't need to because it's going to find it automatically. It's just for the sake of being complete, they've included that here. We can go back and try it without giving it that after this example works. Hopefully it does work. So we'll see that device perfect. So it worked. dev1.fax. Perfect. So dev1.close. Yeah, and let's try to open it again, but we're not going to give it that private file, and see just how easy it can be. So, yep, it's just so easy. Of course, this is perhaps a unicorn environment, so you might need to give it that special file, especially if there's multiple people using it, and there's a special key per each person, or there's some issue. If you have an issue using this, this is the easiest way. So obviously try this way first, but if it doesn't work, you can point it to the correct file to use. You'll probably see an error like file key not found or something. But yeah, this is great. Great. We are now ready to look at some examples for PyEZ. PyEZ examples. With that, it's past 7 a.m. So I think I'm going to move my bookmark up. And delete my old bookmark. And call it a wrap here and come back to it later. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.